But first, within the last hour, the New South Wales Police Deputy Commissioner announced that they have mobilised the Joint Counter-Terrorism Team in relation to the shocking revelation that a caravan full of explosives was discovered with intended Jewish targets, including a synagogue contained inside. The Premier has condemned the rising Semitism in his state.
The vast majority of people in New South Wales find this behaviour abhorrent, appalling, against all of the values and beliefs that we share in New South Wales, and we will defeat them.
Joining me now, foreign editor at The Australian, Greg Sheridan. Greg, this wasn't on our list of topics to talk about tonight, but I can't think of a more important one, to be honest, this evening. We've heard from the Premier, we've heard from the New South Wales Police. It appears this was discovered 10 days or so. We only know about it now from the Daily Telegraph's perspective. But what do we now need to hear said from the Prime Minister?
Well, Peter, great to be with you. It's a very, very disturbing story. It's a very hard plot to interpret on its face. It could be a plot that's gone wrong and they've abandoned the explosives. Somebody might have left the explosives there with a note in order that they be discovered and create terror amongst the Jewish community. It's a continuation of this stubborn, persistent, determined, vicious anti-Semitism that we're seeing. Now, as you know, Peter, I think all along the Albanese government hasn't had a clue what to do about this. I think they certainly want the crisis to go away now. They'd do anything they could to get out of it, except the things that they need to do. So, first of all, Prime Minister Albanese has always seemed reluctant to treat this as the national crisis that it is. He does denounce anti-Semitism now, and that's good. That's good. But he ought to hold in person a national cabinet meeting with every chief minister and premier from the left of the Labor Party to the most conservative National Party to make a full statement to the nation that we utterly denounce this behaviour. We love and support and endorse our Jewish community. Secondly, he should hold, as the opposition had demanded, a proper judicial inquiry. Why not a royal commission into anti-Semitism on our universities? This is one of the great engines of anti-Semitic hatred in our society. And what an irony that, you know, fabulously funded institutions which get billions upon billions of dollars of government money and which are meant to be centres of liberal inquiry are spewing the most disgusting, historic, ancient hatred our civilisation has known. Now, if anything is worth a proper royal commission, it's this. And it doesn't matter if it takes a little bit of time, because it's taken a long time for this to build up. And then he should take some lessons from Chris Minns, who has been the only Labor adult throughout this whole crisis. And Albanese has never understood that there is a worldwide crisis of anti-Semitism. There is an Australian crisis of anti-Semitism. We've never had anti-Semitism like this before. And he has to treat it as a first-order crisis, a first-order measure of government, not something that he just tries to slide away from and hope goes away.
And more, Greg, it's terrorism, it's potential terrorism threats, it's potential terrorism attacks, it's terrorism assets being developed, if that's what this caravan is. I would want to know that the opposition is being briefed, because we're about to hit an election campaign. They are distracting in the extreme for political parties, for governments, for opposition. There could be a change of Prime Minister, a change of the apparatus. And I want to know that both sides are being given the courtesy of knowing exactly what's happening out there on the ground. Should there be a change of government, that the new incumbents can hit the ground running, that we can be similarly protected. These are some of the things I think the Prime Minister can't dodge. I think now that we know this is out there in the ether, I think he has to front the cameras and give Australians confidence he has got this in hand.
Yeah, I agree with you, Peter. I mean, a couple of things about that. I absolutely agree. The opposition should be briefed. This ought to be a big national bipartisan project. Now, I don't want to get into the bad books of the ASIO Director General, Mike Burgess, again, But it does underline the unbelievable foolishness of his comments a few months ago that supporting the ideology of ISIS was okay. Mike Burgess certainly never said supporting anti-Semitism was okay, but giving some rhetorical support, not supporting the ideology, giving some rhetorical support to Hamas was okay for someone wanting to come into Australia. Whereas we know at the heart of Hamas ideology is profound, deeply instilled, putrid anti-Semitism. And that's not okay. That's not okay for anyone coming into Australia. The Albanese government is very upset if you suggest that their foreign policy has contributed to this anti-Semitism. But undoubtedly, one aspect of contemporary anti-Semitism arises out of the excessive demonisation of Israel. Now, the Albanese government, on its own testimony, has voted for resolutions at the United Nations which it found were, had contained material that it disagreed with, but which were anti-Israel and which, on balance, the Albanese government supported in order to increase pressure on Israel. But what that had the effect of doing was to further demonise Israel in the minds of radical activists. And you can't escape the impression that the green activists and the radical activists within Israel who have been brought up on a diet of anti-Semitism. I mean, Tanya Plibersek repudiated her past position, but she had described a previous Israeli Prime Minister as a war criminal. This is kind of the common parlance of the left of the ALP. And you have to repudiate this in the way that Bob Hawke repudiated unilateralism and equivocation over the American alliance. You have to change the Labor culture and change the national culture now that we've sunk into this swamp of anti-Semitism, and they can't do it.